Meet Nellie Organ, Little Nellie of Holy God. The Life of Nellie Organ, 1903–1908. There, that is the sign for which I was waiting. Pope St. Pius X, after hearing about the holy life of little Nellie, a few months later in 1910 he issued Quam Singulare, which significantly lowered the age of Holy Communion for children. Little Nellie Organ lived to be only 4½ years old, and yet for very good reason she is known as the Little Violet of the Blessed Sacrament. The remarkable story of her short yet holy life begins with her birth on August 24, 1903. Her father, William Organ, and her mother, Mary Attorn Organ, were married on July 4, 1896, and their marriage was soon blessed with 4 children: Thomas, David, Mary, and, lastly, Nellie. Because unemployment was very high at that time in Ireland, her father, William Organ, had to choose between emigration and enlistment as a soldier. He chose the latter, and in October 1897, he joined the British Army, then in occupation in Ireland, in a garrison in the maritime town of Waterford. Thus, little Nellie was born on August 24, 1903, in the married quarters of the Royal Infantry Barracks in Waterford, Ireland. Soon afterward she was brought to the parish church of the Trinity, where she was baptized with the name of Ellen, though she would be familiarly called Nellie. When only 2, Nellie's father writes, she would clasp my hand and toddle off to Mass, prattling all the way about holy God. That was the way she always spoke of God, and I do not know where she could have learned it. Nellie loved her father dearly, and her first request, when her mother went out, was to buy a rosary for Daddy. One night her father said he was going on sentinel duty. Nellie said, "I will be sentinel in your place." "You go to sleep," said her father. "No," said Nellie, "I shall wait for you," and when he returned some hours later, she was awake, waiting for him. The holy names were the first words that Nellie learned, and at night the family rosary was said. Her mother taught her to kiss the crucifix and the large beads, a habit which Nellie retained. The death of her mother in 1905, the family moved to Spike, an island fort situated in Court Harbor. The mother's health, which had never been robust, now visibly deteriorated. Pious and devout, Mrs. Organ turned in her last months entirely to God, and her rosary was never out of her hands. Toward the end she clung to Nellie with such transports of affection that the child had to be torn, almost rudely, from her dying embrace. She died of consumption, tuberculosis, in January 1907. The eldest of the Organ children was only 9 at the time, and her father was engaged throughout the day in his military duties, so initially a charitable neighbor gave occasional help in the Organ household. However, since the children were so young and couldn't help much with all the necessary household duties, it was soon realized that this makeshift arrangement was a poor one. And in addition, it was discovered that Nellie was painfully delicate and was requiring special care, for it was soon discovered that she had a crooked spine, though this was not recognized completely until she came into the care of the Good Shepherd sisters. Sitting upright in a chair was painful for her, and in fact holding her body still for any length of time pained her a great deal. Her hip and her twisted back were out of joint. She cried, but there was no loving mother to soothe and comfort her. Nellie's father at length realized that he could not carry on any longer in a motherless family, so he asked a kind priest friend to find a home in some convent for his forlorn orphans. Nellie and her sister are sent to the Good Shepherd sisters. The priest friend came to his assistance, and with his kind help each of the little ones was provided with a home in the charitable institutions of the diocese. Thomas was sent to the School of the Brothers of Charity at Upton, David, the younger brother, to the convent school of the Sisters of Mercy, Passage West, and it was arranged that Mary and Nellie should be sent to live at St. Finbarr's Industrial School conducted by the Sisters of the Good Shepherd at Sunday's Well, in the city of Cork, Ireland. Nellie and her sister arrived on May 11, 1907. It was with truly maternal care that Mary and Nellie were surrounded there by the kind Good Shepherd sister, and Nellie was truly happy there, and she called all the sisters mothers. Upon her arrival, Nellie was 3 years and 9 months old. She would live the remaining 8 months of her life with the sisters. A physician's diagnosis: Mary Long was a young girl who slept next to Nellie, and she told the sisters that Nellie seemed to be in pain and would often be up much of the night crying and often coughing. Because of this, little Nellie was transferred to the school infirmary, where she would share her meals with a little black kitten, of which she grew very fond, and which fully reciprocated the child's affection. While classroom lessons had now ceased for the suffering child, she was, however, taken at times join the kindergarten games on the playground. One day, she was given a box of bed's string. She put some in her mouth, and inadvertently she somehow swallowed, or rather half swallowed them. They stuck in her throat, and she seemed to be suffocating. The teacher snatched her up and went running to find the nurse, and together they rushed Nellie into the Sacred Heart Infirmary on the convent ground, and immediately those present performed the operation of extracting the beds from her throat. 5 were removed from the neighborhood of the trachea. Remarkably, Nellie did not cry during the painful experience, but sometime later she became listless, so they sent for the doctor. With grief in their hearts, they soon heard his diagnosis. Along with her crooked spine, Nellie was the victim of the dreaded tuberculosis, the disease that had proved fatal to her mother. Since the disease was already quite along in its progress, the doctor held out no hope whatsoever of her recovery. In fact, he informed them that she had only a few months of life remaining. Her devotion to the child Jesus, little Nellie, remained for 2 months in the Sacred Heart Infirmary. Her nurse, Miss Hall, frequently considered it necessary to stay the night with her, and Nellie's gratitude for this attention was full of childlike love. "Holy God took my mother," she would say, "but He has given me you to be my mother." She would put out her tiny hand between the rails of her crib to take that of her mother, and she would clasp it affectionately until the little fingers gradually relaxed and she fell into a fitful sleep. During this time, when Nellie was still confined to bed in the infirmary, a little altar on which stood a statue of the Holy Infant of Prague attracted her attention. She asked Miss Hall about the statue, and she explained to Nellie that the statue was an image of our Lord when he was a child. Immediately Nellie's interest was aroused. Miss Hall proceeded to narrate the story of the birth of Christ and his great love for us. The child listened with evident enthusiasm, and ever afterward she delighted in the story of Holy God when he was a little child. Were a remarkable recovery, and from that moment she turned with all the sweet simplicity of childhood and spoke to little Jesus, and at the suggestion of the nuns she soon made a novena to him, asking him to make her well. When the novena was ended, she unexpectedly became so far recovered as to be able to walk about in the garden holding someone's hand. Naturally, this inspired in her a great confidence in the Holy Child, with whom she now began to chat familiarly, and of whom she made the most extraordinary demands. When shortly afterwards her former nurse, Miss Hall, became unwell, Nellie called one of the older girls and said to her, "Go and bring me Holy God," referring to the statue of the infant Jesus, "and put him on the chair near me. I want to ask him to make mother better. He made me better, you know." The dancing child Jesus. Among Nellie's toys was a tin whistle which she often enjoyed playing with. One day toward the end of September, Mary Long was busy in the kitchen and was engaged in copying some verses which the children were to recite on the occasion of a visit from the Mother Provincial, who visited each day. For a while Nellie was there playing quietly with her toys, but then she came over to Mary and said, "Longy, give me my baby," for that is how she always spoke of the little statue of the infant Jesus of Prague. Mary paid no heed at first, but Nellie went on, "Longy, give me my baby," until Mary, to have peace, said, "I will give it to you, Nellie, but please do not break it or Mother Frances will be angry." Mary went into the other room, got the statue and gave it to Nellie. Nellie, now perfectly happy and content, hugged the little image, hushing it in her arms and kissing it, with many lisping words and murmurs of affection. Then she put it on the floor beside the pots and pans. Mary went on with her copying. But let us now continue in Mary Long's own words. All of a sudden Nellie got very excited and called out, "Longy, him dance for Meg. Longy, play music," and she snatches hold of her whistle and keeps on blowing, only stopping to cry, "Him dance for me, Longy, play more music." I thought the child had gone mad. Then Josephine, the girl who helped with the cleaning, came in. Josephine at once said, "What is the matter with Nellie?" Nellie, her face flushed, her eyes sparkling, cried out, just flinging one glance toward us, then instantly back again to the statue. "Jode, play music, him dance for me, now me dance for him." And Nellie begins stepping about, her arms extended. After a few more moments she stopped suddenly, and sadly, in a disappointed little voice, she said, "He stopped now," and thus she became quiet once again. God's flowers. As the months passed, Nellie soon became ill once again. Often the good sisters brought flowers to Nellie to brighten her up during her dreary days of illness. "Isn't holy God good," she would say, "to have made such lovely flowers for me?" Because of this fact, she disliked artificial flowers. "They are too stiff, she used to say. "Bring me some of holy God's own flowers." One day Mary Long, on reaching the door of the infirmary, was surprised to find Nellie scrambling back into bed, in her hand a flower which she had evidently taken from a vase that stood on a table nearby. Perceiving Mary, Nellie slipped the flower under the bedclothes, believing her action to be unobserved. But Mary had seen it and began questioning the child. "Who stole that lovely daisy from the vase?" "No one, Longy." "Then where is it?" "Perhaps it is under the bed." And Mary pretended to be searching about for it. With a shriek of laughter, Nellie suddenly produced it from its hiding place, smiling all the while. "Oh, you naughty child," said the girl, pretending to be angry. "I'll tell mother when she comes back that you stole the flower." Nellie did not answer for a moment, but hugged the flower to her breast, then quietly remarked that the altar was hers, and thus in her little mind the flower was hers also. Later, when she was alone with Mary, Nellie said to her, "Mother, I'm sorry I took the flower, but I was only talking to holy God, and him gave me the flower, him did, Mother." Once Nellie noticed some dead flowers by the sacred heart statue outside the infirmary. She spoke up, "Look at them dirty flowers, them should be taken away." Long afterwards, when she was so weak that she could not leave her bed, she asked Reverend Mother whether them dirty flowers had been taken away from the statue of holy God. Nellie's devotion to the hidden Jesus in the Eucharist, with her various household tasks, Mary Long did not always feel able to rise for the community mass each morning. On one such occasion, Mary began doing her morning work quietly in the kitchen until she heard the children pass into their refectory after mass. Then she opened the door to Nellie's room and said, "Well, Nellie, how are you today?" To her surprise, Nellie answered reproachfully, "You did not get holy God this morning." Mary thought that perhaps Nellie had heard her moving about in the kitchen, and so an idea occurred to her to test Nellie next time. She went to the door of the building, opened the latch, and closed the door again, thus giving the impression, as she thought, that she had really gone to Mass. She then removed her boots, and during Mass time she moved about as little as possible in the kitchen. When she returned to Nellie's room, she looked quite unconcerned. The child, however, fixed her pensive eyes on Mary's countenance, and then the same reproving words were spoken sadly. "You did not get holy God today. How do you now, Lovate?" said Mary. "Didn't you hear me close the door?" "No matter," said the child. "I know you didn't get holy God." Nurse Hall gave the following account of Nellie's extraordinary behavior on the occasion of her first visit to the chapel during exposition of the Blessed Sacrament. On that morning, Nurse Hall carried Nellie down to the chapel. Nellie had never before actually seen the sacred host exposed in the monstrance. What then was Miss Hall's surprise to hear the little one say to her in an awed whisper, "Mother, there he is, there is holy God." And with her little hand she pointed to the monstrance, after which she never once took her eyes off the host, while an expression of ecstasy transfigured her face. In another account of this same first visit, Reverend Mother writes, "It was the first Friday of the month, October. I was passing along the corridor when the chapel door opened and Nellie, holding the nurse's hand, toddled out softly and recollectedly. Remembering how ill the child had been, I stooped down, one knee on the floor, and said, 'Swell, how is baby today?' For answer the little one laid her face on my shoulder and wept silently, but her tears were not sad. They were all sweetness. It was a holy emotion, the happiness of which overflowed in wordless weeping. In that moment, continues the mother solemnly, it was made known to me interiorly that God had some special designs on the child, and that I, then superior, was expected to company operate with him in accomplishing them. From that day onward, by some interior warning, without a single exterior sign to guide her, Nellie always knew when there was exposition at the convent. Nellie had been born in the army barracks, where the prison was called the lockup. So, concerning the Eucharist in the tabernacle, she regarded Jesus as the prisoner in the lockup. Thus, on exposition days she would say, "Take me down to the chapel. I know that holy God is not in the lockup today." Oftentimes she would call the Eucharist the hidden Jesus.